All right. OGR, Operation Generational Run. Something I've been thinking about doing this entire year. As soon as 2026 started, January, I was hot and ready, right? Operation Generational Run. Chanting it in my head 24/7, writing it down, journaling it constantly. It was the only thing on my mind. I am going to go on a generational run. I'm going to orchestrate it, right? I was so optimistic, so excited, and I was doing very well actually. So I said it was gonna be the year that OGR significant gets significant traction, and I was doing so well, right? I got funded for the second time ever. First, we have to rewind a bunch. Last July, I got funded for the first time ever, and that was an incredible milestone in my journey. So I've been trying to get funded for like 2, 3 years, and that wasn't going right because I kept flipping from strategy to strategy. And then once I found the right strategy, now I trade ICT concepts. The biggest problem was and still remains psychology. I overcame that last summer, and then I made my little 2 videos about how, I finally did it, blah, blah, blah. This is the start of everything. And I was on top of the world. That was probably one of the most confident times of my life in every single aspect of my life, right? I was peaking, and it was short lived. I ended up I actually did secure 2 payouts though, which was good. That was tangible. That was seeing good tangible evidence that, one, trading works, I can make it work, and two, I can be who I project myself to be. I can really be that person, and I am becoming that person. So last summer was a great stress test for those 2 things, right? I was right there, and I teased myself of the life that I was trying to build. I teased myself of it. We got to September, and then the biggest thing that led to my downfall last year was my tendency to get cocky and complacent. I thought to myself, I just got funded. I've been trading so well. I was on a great win streak. It looked I was in sync with the markets. It seemed like I could do no wrong. Whatever button I pressed, whether it was long or short, it was gonna go the right way. And that's how it seemed for like a good month. And then that wore down because my habits that got me there, I didn't sustain them. I just I let off on the gas. And that was the biggest problem. To getting too cocky, I started going to bed a little later, waking up with a little more fog. Like the sleep was a big thing. I started playing video games more. I Before that I completely stopped video games because that is one of my biggest vices, right? But then I started playing again because I was like, I'm funded now. I did it. I deserve some fun. But of course, I fell into the same habit of making it excessive, and gaming for like 4 hours a day, killing people, but killing people online. But still, I stopped journaling as much, on certain sessions, whether I won or I lost. If I had some plans to go do something later that day, I just finish trading and then just go get ready, go get dressed, go do something, and ditch the journaling. The journaling was so important, so I dropped that. I dropped a lot of good habits. I got cocky, and then I started over trading because when I took a loss, like my ego was so high, I didn't think that I would be the type of trader to take losses anymore, even though that's just a false statement. Every trader is going to always take losses, right? So I wasn't focused on mitigating risk as much. And in doing that, I started over trading. If I took one loss, I would take 2 more trades, and that started off right. Like, I would make my profits back, but eventually that's not a sustainable way of trading, at least for my style of trading. And so I would have a nice win and then take a small loss and still be in the green, but then I'm starting to trade a lot more, a lot more, a lot more, and now I'm giving all my profits back. So I did secure my payouts, but I blew that account. I was i was a little stressed once I lost that funded account, but I was still more optimistic than anything, and still on cloud 9 because I proved to myself that I can get funded. I got over that hurdle. I accomplished that one milestone. I've proved to myself now that I can get funded, that I am the type of trader that can be profitable. And I was profitable for like, 3 months, but then that died down. So it took me about a month or two. No, it took me 1 month of trading again to find my groove again, to get back into trading with patience, filtering out subpar setups. And I was doing that. I managed to get funded again in November. I blew it again in 1 week. 1 week of taking an excessive, absurd amount of trades. Usually, a good day for me is one, two trades a day, three maximum. I rarely take three trades a day. But when I got funded in November, I was taking like four or five trades and trading during Asia, which has become a huge red flag for me. Like Asia, I do not trade that anymore. And I should have stopped a while ago. But the reason I was trading Asia so much was because I was looking for opportunity anywhere I can find it and trading London. That's just not sustainable. Staying up till 2, 3 a.m. just to trade London, getting, a bad amount of sleep to wake up at 8 the next day and get ready for the next trading session and trade without, that optimal focus of having 8 hours of sleep. It's just, it compounded. So I blew that funding account again. That was my second funded ever. I didn't even get a payout. As soon as I took my first trade, I was in drawdown and I could not get it back up since that. So then December comes along. I can't even take that much trades in December because, it's holiday season. The markets are slowing down. I can't pursue opportunities as aggressively. So then December passes along, January passes along. Now we're starting to build up momentum. I'm telling myself, you know what? Nothing changes if nothing changes. Operation Generational Run is underway. This is going to be the year. I was teased last summer of the life that I could have. I took two payouts. I took home $3,000. Ran up a funded, ran up 5K on a funded um, over the course of 1 month, which is, it's not anything crazy, but for me, just recently coming out of college, to be able to make 5K in 1 month, to pull that out the market is something significant, coming from not having made a single dime from the markets previously, right? So then, January and February, they're not bad, but they're not good either. I'm just floating around break even, right? Making a little bit of profit, giving it back, going into drawdown a little bit, but then picking myself back up. So I've just been floating around break even until around May. May, it starts to click again, especially the patience, taking good trades. The issue for me was never about finding winners, finding winning trades. Like I can spot a good reversal, a good continuation. I can spot these types of trades easily now, almost effortlessly. The biggest problem is when you settle for a subpar trade and end up taking a tiny little paper cut, and then you do it again and again and again, and those paper cuts add up and take away from your balance. So that's my biggest thing, filtering out the subpar trades. But I got to a point where I was doing that well uh, in May, right? So then I got funded for the third time ever, which is a huge milestone for me because it's like you can get funded 3 times. Like now you don't place evaluations on a pedestal anymore, right? If you can get funded you've done it again and again and again. You've proven that you can do this. Now you just have to trade patiently. You just have to keep that in the back of your head that you can be a profitable trader if you just stick to your rules, one, but two, filter out the subpar setups, right? So I got funded in May and I was on top of the world. I was like, I did it again. I was actually doing so well. I had a hot start, right? I had a hot start. I was green, green, green for a couple days. And then I had one bad day. It was one FOMC. And it wasn't even a terrible day looking at it objectively because markets weren't in high probability, that FOMC that I traded. And so I ended up taking a lot of trades, but I was still doing good because I was de-risking, right? I went with lower risk than I usually would on my trades, but it 5 trades in a row. And although that day I lost net $300, which is not that bad at all considering I took 5 trades, that means I've been risking pretty well. It's just the fact that I took 5 trades. I could not just take one loss and walk away. And so that just started some bad trading momentum. The bad momentum, it started building up, and after that one FOMC red day, like the next day was the same thing. I started taking way too many trades, just not being able to be content with taking one loss and closing my laptop and walking away. I couldn't do that. So naturally, one loss became two, two became five, so on and so forth. We kept building this just horrible, impatient, undisciplined trading momentum. And that's what led to me blowing that account. I blew it 2 weeks ago, right? My third ever funded account. Again, did not even get to secure a payout on that. Mind you, the payouts from my first funded account, I spent that expeditiously within the first 2 months, because in the back of my head I was like, okay, I'm funded now, income is secured. Let me just blow all of this money, make it back. It wasn't even a lot. It was 3K, around 3K, give or take. Let me blow all this money. I'm gonna make it back. Blah blah blah. Did not make it back. Here I am, back to square one. But losing that third funded account hit me really hard. It stung because I can't blame anybody but myself. Whenever people say, "Oh, the market's just been in terrible trading conditions lately," blah blah blah, that's all cope, right? The market will always offer opportunities if you can manage your risk. If you can filter out low probability trading days and just sit on your hands for an entire day because you're not seeing an A plus setup, that's fine. That's you navigating low probability conditions. And then when you find your setup, you risk a little bit more on it. Or at least that's how I would like to go about things. And that's how I was going about things when I was trading at my best. So yeah, it hit me hard. Like that was a wake up call. This is like, how am I gonna get funded again and again and again and keep blowing it? You hear all these horror stories online, and low key, I'm becoming one myself. I've been trading for 5 years now, and to have only gotten a sliver of success last year, and then to give it up, like I can't blame anybody but myself. That is entirely my own doing. And so it was a wake up call. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. I'm doing a lot right. Like regardless of these outcomes, every day I know I'm still being very disciplined. I'm putting in a lot of pain. I'm like, very goal oriented otherwise. I will elaborate on my systems later, but it's just that losing it, the habits, something's got to give, right? And the issue is not my strategy at all. Once again, the issue is just psychology. So I was discouraged. Insomnia hit me hard. Like I could not sleep for a week straight. It was terrible. I was in terrible shape. Like the whole night I would not be able to sleep, but I wouldn't be on my phone either. I would just be tossing and turning, thinking about what went wrong, how I could go better about it, blah blah blah. For a week straight, I did not look at the charts at all, just to take my mind off of that, to reset myself so that when I get back into trading, I'm not going to go with the momentum that has been carrying me through losing these last two fundeds. Right? I need a complete reset and refresh. Me not trading for a week, that's like an almost unheard of thing. Usually I show up every single day, but for this week I had to not do that just so I can reset my mind, refresh my mind, and reset my tendencies and my habits. Don't get it twisted. Operation Generational Run is still underway, but we suffered a major setback, a major, major, major setback, and that's okay. I was taking half a step forward every month, and just now I took 3 steps backward, but that's all right because if it's one thing I know how to do, it's pick myself back up after a slump. So I let myself, grieve losing the funded account for a little bit. For 1 or 2 days, I just watched Netflix all day, blah, blah, blah. But that's dead now. That's dead. I need to pick myself back up starting immediately. I need to get back to that optimal state where I'm just functioning like a beast, focused and driven every day with energy. That's a big thing. But, it's all talk. And I figured it would be cool to document picking myself back up from this very low point and rebounding and getting back into the groove and building that momentum once again, because when that momentum is firing, like, it's so important. That snowball turns into an avalanche and everything is going your way. Like, that is one of the most glorious feelings, periods of time somebody can go through, irrespective of career, ambition, passion, whatever, right? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build this momentum again because I've been doing this for 5 years. I know how to fail, take a L, take it on the chin, and get back and keep moving. That's how I've continuously gotten better at trading and other things. And so that's what we're gonna do right now. As of right now, I don't have any evaluations yet. I'm gonna buy a couple. I'm gonna buy a set of 4 evaluations, right? And I'm going to copy trade all of them, and I'm gonna get funded, and I'm gonna get a payout on all of these accounts, right? This is going to be the beginning of OGR. This is going to be the beginning of Operation Generational Run. Now, how can I lose all these funded accounts and blow all these evaluations and then feel confident to get 4 accounts and copy trade them all at once? Because the fact that I have 4 accounts is going to allow me to risk less on each individual trade I place, right? If I only risk 100, I go for a 2R trades. If I only risk $100 on a trade, right? I want to win around 200 on 4 accounts, 800. That's pretty good ROI. And trading with that mindset of using as low risk as I can and filtering out subpar days, subpar setups, like, it's guaranteed profitability. I've cracked the code. I know how to do it. The hard part is just doing it now. I still haven't bought those 4 accounts because first we need like an overall reset, right? One of the biggest parts of rebound protocol is movement. Movement, working out, get those endorphins going. My brain's been lacking endorphins lately, endorphins and serotonin. We got to get back on that. So, first order of business of getting back on track and building momentum for OGR. Gotta get that pump. Gotta get those endorphins. Feel me? We got a little something we working on, but could always be a little bigger. You hear me? Cue the montage.
Got 1,000 to fly in, look like the one off Aladdin. Niggas talk jazz in a jag, but that won't be nothing that I'm in. I'm in the bag that's inside a bag, yeah. Smoking exotic is high end, I'm rocking babe, it's vibrant. Feel like I've been walking on carpet everywhere I've been. Gucci the ones to slide in. I'm in your mouth real quick, pop it in like Trident. I'm trying to get me a ride in. It's a whole lot more hollows where them came from, and I shoot the clip with my right hand. Swear everybody's getting rolled up pronto, I know. Ain't gonna be no fronto. Nigga run up, I'm stopping all that macho. Get unplugged like console. $2,000 on kicks, had check out insoles. Them bitch hurt like insults. Louis Vuitton cardigan on me, no Winslows. I'm keeping warm when the wind blow. I was doing 175 for a white tee, new one 175. I know I be getting to it, they keep letting me buy. Bitch, I need a wipe, she wet like fluid, I'm letting it dry. 1,000 to fly in, look like the one off Aladdin. Niggas talk jazz in a jag, but that won't be nothing that I'm in. I'm in the bag that's inside a bag, yeah. Smoking exotic is high end, I'm rocking babe, it's vibrant. Feel like I've been walking on carpet everywhere I've been. Gucci the ones to slide in. I'm in your mouth real quick, pop it in like Trident. I'm trying to get me a ride in. It's a whole lot more hollows where them came from, and I shoot the clip with my right hand. I'm getting to a guap every day, it's everywhere I've been. Look like I know Joe Biden. I probably fall asleep on the plane right before I land. Designer getting flight in. Yeah, looking for something to buy in, invest, put it in right in. You know I started from the bottom like leaves. Bitch wanna leave, I'm biting.
Figured while I cool down a little bit before I go shower, take care of some lawn, fold some clothes. You know what I'm saying? But while I'm folding clothes, just want to like, I just want to speak into life with the focuses on these next 4. So, with this new set of evals that I'm going to be trading, I'm going to start tomorrow. In terms of expectations, one thing that I want to see from my trading, I'm not going to make it a hard set rule, but something that I'm going to emphasize and it's going to help me stay patient is not every single day is a trading day. Specifically, no news Mondays and Friday PM sessions. I also have a bad track record with Friday PM sessions because when the week's about to close, price action gets a little lethargic and opportunity, it flees the scene. It's not there anymore. And I've been known to push a little aggressively on Friday PM sessions, just trying to get one last quick win before the markets close. But I am cognizant of this tendency that I have, and it's written in my trading plan, my new revised trading plan that I will also be going over before I purchase these for evaluations. It's Friday PM session. As soon as I see price start to die down, that's it. I'm disinterested and I'm disengaged. If engaged at all, I'm probably not even going to be reviewing the Friday PM session, with any real focus or significance. Same thing with Asia. I'm not even looking at Asia anymore, and I've been doing much better with that. Just not looking at the charts during Asia because I know when I'm looking at the charts, I'm tempted, and when you're looking for something, you tend to find it. So you can make a trade out of nothing even when there's bad price action, and that's something that I've been doing a lot when trading Asia, just because the price action is just so much slower and it's harder to build a coherent narrative, at least with my style of trading. So, no Asia, reduce Friday PM session trading, and Monday, no news. I've been pretty good with no news Mondays, but just always remembering that on no news Mondays, price reverts to fair value. So, always prioritize the new week opening gap and the opening range gaps on Mondays. So these are big focuses that I'm going to be taking into account with my trading moving forward. And I'm just saying these things out loud while, folding these clothes just to get it cemented in my brain, to get those neurons wiring and firing that remember that this is how I want to be trading. We're going to be moving with real intention every single day. A day with no trades taken is a day one, right? It's as good as a winning day because you saw nothing in the market that fit your trading plan and you acted accordingly. And that's a win for patience. That's a rep right there of patience, which, increases your overall patience in the long run and helps, make profitability more sustainable. Side note, endorphins hit. It was a quick little workout. The point was to just get a quick pump in, get a small win in for the day and start the momentum. It starts with the small little things, right? I knew that I wanted a little reset and I wanted to start picking my momentum back up, but I also know that it has to start in small steps. Inevitably, you will crash. So the foundation is starting with the small steps and cementing those habits, cementing that progress, that momentum, and then moving it forward, right? So that's what we got going on right now. The endorphins are flowing from that workout. I feel good. It's the most energy I've had in a while. Yesterday was actually the first day I've been able to sleep since last week, which is amazing. Like I actually have some energy to work off of. Beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we do it. That's how you get back on track. Why am I even recording all of this? Because inevitably there's going to be a point in time where I am a millionaire, where I am wildly successful, thriving, you know? There's going to be a time where all this pain and dedication, this blood, sweat, and tears has been validated and cemented in real life. I'm gonna want to reminisce on, the pain that it took to get there, what it was like while I was dead broke, cause I'm dead broke, bummy, like, you know, living with my parents, don't got a car, don't got no motion, twins, but that's okay because an object in motion stays in motion. You feel me? That's not even relevant to the point, but I just wanted to say it, and I'm just blabbing now, so now I gotta cut the video.
All right, let's get to business. Damn, this feel crazy. I ain't never recorded my screen, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. All right, let's get down to business though. It's 9:21 right now, 9 minutes before market open. Already started my pre-market analysis a couple minutes ago. Marked up my levels. I got, first of all, if we take a look at the daily, right? This SIBI right here, I thought it would be inverted fully, and if it was to be inverted, then we would aim for these equal highs and all-time high. But yesterday's price action showed that it might hold as resistance, and if that's the case, then the next target would be first the this week's new week opening gap, and then this daily low right here. This would be the next target if this continues to provide resistance right here, this fair value gap on the daily. But for today's price action specifically, it's Thursday NFP, since tomorrow markets are closed for 4th of July on Saturday. So I'm not expecting anything ambitious for today's price action. It's 9:23 right now. NFP already happened. So the closest, points of liquidity, session liquidity, is obviously the data high from the NFP candle and this London low right here. I went down to the 5-minute. I went down to the 15-minute because I like to do most of my quote-unquote high time frame analysis on the 15-minute. And that's where I can clearly see that we have this data high right here. It's a long wick. So if we trade into this wick, I'm going to grade it, of course. If we trade into the wick right here, first off, to determine if we want to go for data high, I need to see how price reacts within these quadrants, right? Like going down to the 5-minute right here. Boom. Here are the quadrants. 1 minute. So if we're able to get to the consequent encroachment of that wick with conviction and aggression, then I'll be sure that data highs are to be taken. Otherwise, if price steers clear of that, I'm expecting this 15-minute BISI to be inverted and for us to make some headway towards the London lows. Obviously, both scenarios don't need to play out because midnight open and 8:30 open, as you can see, they're both right next to current price. Current price is trading right next to the 8:30 open and the midnight open. And so that means we don't have a huge range yet to work with. Price is right near where it started. It could go both ways. This is the last day before the week closes. So I'm going to be very patient today. Not really looking to push any risk because I made most of my profits in the past 2 days. I made all of my profits in the past 2 days. We're about a third towards passing these evals, as you can see. Boom, 3 evals. First time doing this, by the way. This feels crazy. Like yesterday, I made my trade and I was just thinking to myself, wow, I made $500, but really I made $1,500 since I'm trading 3 accounts. That is insane. The scaling is beautiful. And I remember the first time I tried to scale like that, I was way too aggressive and I just wasn't ready to handle that much risk. Just always thinking about, I'm trading 3 accounts. So if this trade hits, I'll make 3,000, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, we failed the evaluations, we learned our lessons, and now we're trading with a newfound patience and a newfound focus and emphasis on taking good trades and good setups and being in sync with the market. The money will always follow, right? On a 15-minute, I see price has recently been in a downtrend, so off the top of my head, I'm looking to align myself with shorts. I want to align myself with this bearish behavior. Unless we get a convincing change in state of delivery from this recent high right here, If this STH gets breaking and we go towards data high, we might get some bullishness that I don't think I'd want to participate in. Otherwise, coming in the market open, I want to see a brief bit of manipulation higher. Briefly go above the 8:30 and the midnight open, but remain below consequent encroachment of the 15-minute wick. If that happens, and also we remain in this 4-hour IFVG that was just inverted yesterday. It was inverted yesterday, and now we retested it because of NFP. So coming in the market open, I'm looking for shorts. If I see, textbook Judas swing, manipulation, liquidity sweep of any sort, of any buy side, and then displacement lower, I'm going to be in that. I'm going to try and look for low hanging fruit. So this low is game. These equal lows are game. An ambitious target would be the London low, but we're going to have to see how aggressively price moves. So we're just going to wait it out till market open and see what happens. Off the top, one thing we're noticing is the reaction to this right here. I gotta make all my new templates because I'm trading on Alpha Trader. I have all my templates saved and stuff on TradingView, but gotta do it all over again on Alpha Trader because I want to copy trade these accounts, and I don't want to do it on Tradeovate. I don't like the platform. But anyways, we're getting a very sharp rejection from this recent low right here. That could be the liquidity sweep. This 15 minute, I'm not gonna say it's inverted yet. Let's see how the bodies look, because the wicks do the damage and the bodies tell the story. So on the 15-minute time frame, we did close below, but it's wicking right now, and it's permissible for wicks to go below PDAs as long as the bodies stay and close above. And right now this 15-minute gap is looking like it's holding support. That, coupled with the fact that there was a recent liquidity sweep right at the beginning of market open, this is setting up some longing opportunities. So we're gonna see how this plays out. Just be patient. Just reiterating to myself, today, last day of the trading week, I don't want to be too aggressive in finding a setup. If an obvious one presents itself, that's fine, but I don't want to force a trade. I don't want to force the issue right here because I've already made my profits, and I know sometimes I have the habit of giving my profit all back to the markets, just chasing extra additional setups off of the confidence of my recent wins. But this is OGR, and we learn from our mistakes, so that's not what's about to happen right now. We're going to stay calm and patient. If today offers us no trading opportunities, that is perfectly fine. I am happy to close the week up a third of the way to passing an eval. We're getting some bullishness. Price is burrowing into this fair value gap right here, this SIBI. Seeing how, if it violates it, I have confidence in longs, but I also want to see the first presented fair value gap open first. Just as that additional confirmation. Because if I do enter a trade today, I need it to be very safe, very low risk. Price wants to leave this BISI open. This will be the first presented fair value gap. First FVG after 9:30. This is setting up to be a long right now. And I'm thinking to myself, if I want to enter this trade, I think I'd have a low-hanging fruit objective around the lower quadrant of the 15-minute wick, and the ambitious TP would be data high. Boom, it's being inverted. It's being inverted with aggression. Okay. This is now an inverse fair value gap. I think longs are in play. I'm going to go with the same risk that I went in with yesterday. I don't want to push it too hard. I'm going to go in with 2 micros. We're in.
Order filled.
In the position. I'm thinking I want my stops. Ooh, 320, that's a lot. I don't want to risk that much. 300. Let's see. I'm gonna set this as my ambitious take profit,
OCO orders placed.
but I will definitely take a partial if price doesn't get there all the way. Oof. I put my stop here.
Order filled.
Okay. Took us out. That's fine. I put my stop here because I didn't want price to trade back to this order block. You see, I thought this right here would be enough support for price to bounce up higher, but that is not what happened. So we're gonna be patient. We're gonna wait it out. I should mark this. Right here. Damn, I don't even have my first. Oh, right here. First presented. You know, my idea might have been right, but I could have just been early. Yeah, 5 minute looks very bullish. We respected this 5 minute fair value gap here very well. Damn, I did not mark it. That's crazy. Okay, user error. I didn't mark this fair value gap. I would have paid attention to how price reacted to it. We can see that the bodies are respecting this 5 minute BISI, and we're getting this big rejection right here. Let's zoom out a little more to the 15 minute, get a clearer picture of what's going on. All right. High time frame is showing a lot of bullishness. I was right. I think I was right. I think I'm gonna go in with the same risk if price comes back to that first presented fair value gap. Although starting to show some speed here.
Order filled.
Alright, we're in this position. I don't want to try price to drop below the first presented fair value gap because we already worked down there. Put my stop right here for now. TP
OCO orders placed.
When I want to have the most precise stops possible, I look to the 5 minute and try to see if my stop is around bodies, above bodies. Like this right here, this is pretty good to me because if we're going to continue to be bullish, I don't want a 5 minute candle negating this bullish up close candle right here and dropping all the way down to this. So I like this stop right here. 5 minute backs it up pretty well. We're seeing good movement right now. I need to see how price acts around the 8:30 open. If we can convincingly trade to and through the 8:30 open, I'm definitely gonna shave off some risk. But first we have to see how we act when we get there, if we get there. $15-minute candle just opened 2 minutes ago, so we could be seeing some manipulation before turning this into an up close candle. That's what I would like to see. We already worked through this 15-minute fair value gap, and the bodies did not close below. So I would like to see price stay above this 15-minute fair value gap right here. We're having to sit through a little bit of drawdown, but the 950 macro starts in 3 minutes. I think when the macro starts, I'd like to see some aggression. I'd like to see price start spooling in our favor. If not, we're gonna have to reevaluate this position. I need to see immediate feedback. That's another one thing of my I want to focus on in my trades, is seeing feedback and reacting to it. We're starting to be able to trade higher. We're getting good bullish order flow right now. So one thing I want to do when I see this is shave off my risk a little bit more. Just being very proactive in managing your risk, because I did initially enter this position with $300 of risk, and I'm continuously shaving it down because you want to mitigate your risk as much as possible. So I'm gonna put it right here, right below the 15-minute fair value gap. Okay, we don't want to drop below the consequent encroachment of the first presented gap now that we've reached the 8:30 and midnight open. We're getting good movement though. I think we're gonna reach the lower quadrant of the 15-minute wick very early into the session, because it's only 9:49 right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move my take profit to the data high, and if we reach this lower quadrant right here, I'm gonna take a partial off. Seeing good movement here. I would not want price to come back to this order block right here and trade below it. That would invalidate this position. So now we have very minimum risk on this trade. More than comfortable losing $90. So for me, we just have a change in state of delivery right now. If price comes back to this order block and trades below it, that's showing that there's a lot of overlap, and that this bullish order flow turned into a bearish order flow very quick, and that makes the market incoherent, harder to find a one-sided narrative to build. The initial drawdown period that we sat through in the beginning of this trade right here was the manipulation for what we want it to be a bullish candle. And take profit is at the data high because that is the most relevant form of buy side liquidity that is nearby. I think the mistake in my first entry was not paying attention to this 15-minute fair value gap. Actually, even if I did pay attention to it, this wick was a liquidity sweep. Yeah. So I was right about the trade. My first entry, my first time around, I was correct. The only problem was it the stop placement? Yeah, it was a stop placement. I would have been stopped out regardless. That's fine. We're gonna move up. We keep our stop here because we're giving the trade room to breathe. This is not a low resistance liquidity run. And so stops must be wider. A little resistance, a little retracement must be accounted for in these situations, which is why stops have to be a little bit wider. If this was to be a low resistance liquidity run, I definitely have my stops a lot closer and more precise. But as I said before, that's not the case. So this is all about managing the trade with all these factors in mind. This 5-minute fair value gap that was initially providing resistance, I expect it to hold support now. So just to see it, I'm going to mark it out very quickly, very momentarily. IFVG5. Okay. Let me see how that looks on the 1 minute. Alright. I don't want price to trade back into that 5-minute inverse fair value gap because we already took some time working through it. So I'm going to keep my stop a little here. Just continue to book even more profit, right? All right, and we're out. Okay. Not bad. We just recouped the loss that we took earlier. If we can invert this busy, yeah, if we can invert this, actually I'm gonna leave it as IFVG. I think I'm gonna re-enter here. Yep, I took out on a retracement. This time I'm going with 1. If price taps me back in, I'm only going with 1 contract because I already got in a very good trade, recouped my previous loss. Bombo clot. Alright, we out of there. Let's see what happened. This could be the silver bullet reversal to head towards pre-market low, but we'd have to see how price acts around this consequent encroachment first. So this right here shows that this silver bullet window was a reversal. So in retrospect, in the good trade that I took, this one right here, I should have taken a partial right here. Should have taken a partial at the lower quadrant of the 15-minute wick. But I really thought the high was going to get hit, but that's fine. I think now price has clearly stated that it's bearish and it wants to hunt this low first. The next available low would be the pre-market low. And I know there's something below here as well. Yep, London low, but that's way lower. That's a good close. I think the London low is in play. Based off of this displacement right here, London low is definitely in play. I think if I wanted to get in a trade, I would enter off this fair value gap, but I'd have my stop right here because we have 2 fair value gaps. I want to see this one treated as a breakaway gap. And since this one is so large, I would love to see price trade below the consequent encroachment of this gap as well. I've already taken 3 trades for the day. I like that I recouped my first loss with my second trade, which was a win. And my third loss was an attempt at making it a continuation, which obviously didn't work out, but we ended up only losing 119. So we didn't take away from our PNL too much, and it was honestly a good trade. I think so. I think I just misread this reversal right here. I didn't account for it. If I took a partial here, that would have been accounting for it. This reaction at the CE says it all. This would be a very safe short. We have a The first presented fair value gap was inverted. We have a breakaway gap here. Let me mark it. I don't think price is going to come back to the place I'd want to take an entry from. So, like I said, we're letting it rock. Yep, breakaway. I don't think price is going to come back here, but if it does, I'm willing to enter. With just one contract. One little micro. Yep. Come on. Yep, we're on a little better. Alright, we're in. The cool thing about saying this out loud and talking my thought process out loud while I'm trading is that it forces me to slow down and it forces me to articulate my observations, which allows for more coherent and patient trading, honestly, because instead of just thinking, very rapid fire, just bouncing from observation to observation and letting that build my narrative, I'm forced to talk it out. And I can't, nobody can talk faster than they can think. And so it's just forcing me to slow down and really build the logic behind my trading. So we're seeing good movement right here. I think at this point, we don't want the breakaway to be tapped in at all. And we don't want this fair value gap to be filled. If it does, then our trade is nil, right? Seeing very good momentum right here, heading towards the London low. Pretty good. I think, yeah, I don't want price to trade into the upper quadrant of that civvy right there. Yeah, this trade is only $66 of risk now, which is, like I said before, I'm more than okay with losing that amount of money. I should have taken this trade earlier though. I really wasn't accounting that this would be a reversal, but it was obvious now in retrospect. Price made a fair value gap right here. I want to see this be inverted. I don't want this to be respected as support. If it is respected as support, we done. We out of here. The reason I'm staying in this trade though, and I'm able to weather that, is this breakaway gap right here. All this displacement, the fact that session liquidity is still in close proximity, and a breakaway gap that is not being traded to at all is telling me that the market is still weak. So although we're seeing a little bit more resistance now, we're starting to see some retracement, market is still in a sell program, because especially this big fair value gap, the bodies didn't even reach the consequent encroachment. They only wicked into it. We didn't even see the upper quadrant. No retracement into the upper quadrant. So I think now this fair value gap has done its damage. We've traded around it a bit. I'm going to shave my risk even a little bit more. Make it at the true half point of that first fair value gap. There we go. That's the business. London low secured. This is a great trade right here. That's it for the session. I think what I did well here was flipping my bias when the market tipped its hand and made it exceedingly obvious to me where it wanted to go. So once we flip this first presented fair value gap, we have immediately the next available fair value gap was a breakaway. And then this displacement right here, this huge fair value gap, we didn't trade above the consequent encroachment, which was a very big sign of continued bearishness. Like the momentum was very strong. And so I had the confidence to have, a slightly more tight and aggressive stop loss because of the intense displacement that we've had before. So I entered right here on this fair value gap, weathered this bit of, a little bit of chop, a little bit of resistance, sat through it. So we recouped the one loss we had in the beginning, which was a big loss because I lost $300, which was yeesh. But we made it back, and now we're closing off the session up 170. Pretty nice, pretty nice. So now I'm around halfway to passing these evals, which is very good, very good. The name of the game is patience, just being in control. Trade the plan the trade. Overall, very satisfied with how I handled this session. We'll log in more. Damn, I don't even have an outro for this type of stuff. What the hell? I think this was good for me. I think I'm gonna keep recording my thought process while I trade, so I can study this recording later, just see what I was yapping about while I was actually looking at the market real time, see if I was emotional at any point or if I was a stone cold killer, you know what I'm saying? See any patterns in my thought process, observe all that good stuff. But this was very good. I think I'm gonna keep doing this because OGR is on the way. What? Operation Generational Run.